Welcome to the Deep Dive,
Emerald City Hockey's Seattle Kraken podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive podcast, Emerald City Hockey's Seattle Kraken podcast. We have so many podcasts, RJ. I feel like, wait, which one is this? Halfway through the intro every time now. But it's all good stuff, and it means that we've had the wonderful support of the awesome ECH community, which is never more true than in this episode. Our annual What Was Your Favorite Moment of the Season episode. Lots of great moments. We had, 20 people write in for this one. It's an insane amount of people. The list just keeps going and going. Really fantastic. Want to thank everybody for their submissions. Can't wait to get to all that stuff. First though, RJ, I thought, because we've got to talk about our wonderful sponsor, Queen Anne Beer Hall. I think we should talk about our favorite moments from season 3 at Queen Anne Beer Hall, because I can't think of any better way of giving them the sponsor plug than to do that for this episode.
Right. It's so fitting for this favorite moments episode. I mean, there were plenty of memorable moments at the beer hall this whole season, but there are a couple that really stood out to me. First of all, we're on the Deep Dive podcast.
Yeah.
How about recording an episode of the Deep Dive podcast at Queen Anne Beer Hall, which we got the chance to do right before the Winter Classic this year. That was super fun getting to do that. I mean, in the whirlwind of all the different events going on, that one really does stand out to me. That was fun, just being there at the beer hall, recording in the atmosphere, having people come on, and including our buddy Jonathan, who correctly predicted the 3-0 final score that we would see a couple days later. I think that was pretty impressive that we gave that to everybody, the correct final score prediction. So thanks, Jonathan, on that one. But that was really fun to me. And then also a little bit earlier in the season at Oktoberfest, none other than Philip Grubauer coming to the beer hall to tap the ceremonial keg to start Oktoberfest. That was, I mean, I've never seen anything quite like that. He was in lederhosen. He was ready to go. He was a little bit nervous about tapping the keg because he had never done that before. And I guess if you mess up and hit the hammer too hard, the whole thing can just spray out beer everywhere. And so he was told that ahead of time. I think best not to tell him, maybe. That the potential downside is so great. But anyway, he did it perfectly. A true pro. I mean, the German DNA kicking in right there. Yeah. And we all had a fantastic time.
I would not want to know that before going to tap a keg like that for the first time. Like I would not want to know that at all. It's you know what though? It's a good thing he's a goalie, right? Like they've got that mental fortitude, can just block that out and get the job done, come in clutch. But yes, those are fantastic. I obviously wasn't there for the Grubauer moment, but yes, being able to record, it was right after we'd done the media skate over there and been on the ice that the Winter Classic was going to be played on. And so we were able to kind of talk about that, the way the arena was set up and everything for it. It was a lot of fun. And then, of course, we also had some ECH community members there, too, that we were able to talk with afterwards. Got sent a pretzel while we were recording, which was also fantastic. So, gotta throw that one out there. But yeah, lots of good moments at Queen Anne Beer Hall after another year of their awesome support here on the Deep Dive podcast.
Yeah. I think we could use that a little bit more because we have a tendency to let the podcast run long sometimes. Knowing that we had a pretzel waiting for us,
it was good.
That was the ultimate motivation to wrap things up.
It was very appropriate for us. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And just shout out to Queen Anne Beer Hall for being a lovely sponsor, going in for another off season and everything. It's been fantastic. Now on to the favorite moments, RJ. And again, like I said, we've got a lot of them here from people. We kind of talked a little bit last week, like on the fly, trying to stretch last week's podcast because it was a little short. We were trying to come up with stuff. We had a little bit more time to think of some things. So I want to hear what you came up with.
Right. So we have to do a slightly different format this year, and it's for a very good reason. So last year, because we got the people reaching out and we had a few, we kind of weaved them in with our own lists of moments that we had. And so when there was a relevant one, we'd play a call or we'd talk about somebody who reached out to us. But there were so many this year. We had over 20 of you reaching out to us this year. That format was pretty much impossible. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about a few memories that I had. Dylan's going to talk about a few that he had. And then we're just going to essentially open up the mailbag and talk about everybody's submissions and everything that they sent to us. So I will start here. And so I highlighted a few moments that weren't mentioned as much in the responses that we got, or that were kind of just personal from my perspective. And I think that's kind of the way that we all really do it. That's what I love about these, is everyone talking about their own perspective on the events. But anyway, I won't waste any more time. So here's kind of my moments that stood out to me. And I'll go in chronological order, because what I did is I went through all my photos and all the schedule and everything from this year, and kind of picked out some memories that way. So I'll start with one in the preseason. And this one was something that, maybe foreshadowed some future events, I would say. And that was a theme, I think, with a lot of people reaching out too, talking about the hope for next season and the moments that we might look back on as the start of something. And that was Jess Campbell coaching the Kraken in a preseason game, and becoming the first woman to be a head coach for an NHL preseason game. And that was it was a really cool moment to see. Really, that whole day, everyone was talking about that historical moment, but also just feeling good for her, knowing all the work that she had put in, seeing her in Coachella Valley the year prior, and then to get that opportunity on the NHL bench as the Kraken did their split squad game with, I believe it was Dave Haxtell that went out to Calgary to do that. But seeing her also at Climate Pledge Arena and all the home fans getting to be so excited for that. And then talking to her in the presser after the game, she was fantastic afterward. And I think a lot of people were thinking, she's going to be behind an NHL bench one day, and probably pretty soon. And of course, now we know that she is.
Yeah, it was, I would say at this point, for sure, foreshadowing. And the way that she handled everything there was, just, it was fantastic. And all of you that were there did not seem surprised then later when she was announced as one of the assistant coaches under Coach Dan Bylsma moving ahead into this season. I heard many people kind of reference back to that moment as being one of the moments where it was like, this definitely could be a thing. So I think that's a great first moment.
Yep. So the next one I have was kind of a moment for you and I, Dylan, not so much for the Kraken, really, more of a Kraken media type of thing. And that was the trivia battle. So those who may remember, it was the second trivia battle that we had done. We faced off against the boys from Sound of Hockey, against Darren and John. And Dylan, I had a blast. The two trivia battles we've done have both been excellent and super fun. The goalie mask round was, of course, the highlight for me. I enjoyed that the most. But it was just a great competition against a couple great guys. And big thanks and shout out to Mike Sasquatch for setting that whole thing up, because there was so much work that went into that behind the scenes. But just had a fantastic time, and can't wait to take on whoever we end up facing this year. Yeah,
that'll be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun doing that one. It was a close battle. But we were able to pull out, at the end there, and it was good. I had a lot of fun with that one. It was good.
Yep. So the next one I have, still from, I guess, before the season started, and that is, I know.
Does that say something about the season? Maybe.
I yes, maybe. I mean, maybe it says a little bit more that the next one is a game that's a loss. But anyway, let's get on to the good memories here. But I guess you can really expand this one out to a whole season-long memory. I'm just using this one as the start of something, but it was Joey making the roster. It was Joey finding out that he had beat out Chris Drieger for at that time, the backup job, and that he had made an NHL roster after having gone to so many training camps, having so many chances at it, and not pulling through and not getting an NHL spot. And that at 27, he finally made an NHL roster, and just seeing the gratitude from him, the perspective that he was able to put into everything, and talking about his journey of going from being a late round draft pick and just battling to finally earn an NHL spot. And as we know now with our hindsight, he absolutely made the most of it. I mean, he was the Kraken star this season, but you could almost see the beginning of it at that time, as soon as he made the roster, knowing that he was going to make the most of that opportunity.
Yeah. I think you could easily just fill this episode with just Joey Daccord moments. I feel like, right? Like him talking to the media, the incredible saves he made, the games that he had, that stretch he had, that included the Winter Classic sandwiched in there, where he was, a top 5 goalie in the NHL, right? Like he was just a fantastic year. Season 3 definitely kind of goes down in my history book anyway as like the Joey Daccord year. And I think that's obviously that's where it all began. And I remember when that happened and how happy everybody was for him. to kind of finally have achieved his dream of really being a full-time NHLer, and then for him to, you know, now with hindsight go on and do everything that he was able to do, it really adds to that moment.
Yeah, and we'll hear his name a ton when we get into the listener submissions here. So I'll go to my next moment here. And this one, yes, it's the first game moment really in the regular season, and it is a loss. But you know me, Dylan, I like the wacky, weird things that you sometimes see in the NHL. I am all about that. And whenever you can go to a game and see something that you've never seen anything like before, it has to be a memorable moment for me. And so for me, that Rangers game, the game where the New York Rangers came to town and the lights went out, the Rangers lights out game, even though it was a Kraken loss, they didn't play very well, but it was one of the most entertaining games of the season for me. Just watching the lights go out, us all in the media in the press bridge trying to figure out what was going on. Eventually seeing Todd Lywicki up there walking along on the catwalk trying to personally solve this problem. I mean, that is devotion from the top levels of the team, trying to make sure that stuff gets fixed. It was just a weird and odd game, but I love that kind of stuff.
It was extremely wild. Watching it from a broadcasting standpoint was extremely interesting. Again, unique. Never seen anything like that before. Yeah, that was as you know, everybody was trying to figure out what was going on and also what to do. Right? Like you have the refs down there trying to figure out like, okay, if lights can't come back on, like how do we handle this? Because it's like they're on enough to play, but you know, it's not fair. We switch sides halfway through the period, all that kind of stuff. It was a really fascinating situation, and I'm with you. Anytime you see something that you don't normally see, and you kind of see that process around it of everybody trying to figure it out, I do think that is definitely a memorable moment.
For sure. All right, so the next one I have is actually, it's not so much the game. It was on a game day, but really it was the morning skate and the aftermath. But so it was before the Kraken's game against the Toronto Maple Leafs at home. And in morning skate, toward the end of it, actually, I saw Philip Grubauer skate over to the bench, pick up a skater stick, and look at it like he had never seen one of those before. It just looked like the look on his face was this look of joy and wonder, and he just didn't know what it was. So I took a little video, and shout out to Nicole Cutmore for having the great idea to pair it with the music. What's this music, and it took off numbers wise, and it completed everything comedically. So that was really fun. And then shortly afterward, I stuck around at morning skate as I was uploading the video, and I see somebody skate onto the ice, and it read the back of the jersey, and it's Michael Bublé. And you don't really expect to see him skating out there after a Kraken morning skate. And so then I found out that he was was filming something for an upcoming movie with a comedian. And so I stuck around, watched some of that. He's actually pretty good. He's got a good shot. He was shooting on the e-bugs and some of the goalies there. So that was fun to watch, and just stick around. I think I convinced our friend Kate Shefty to stay with me for the rest of that day. I'm like, no, just stick around. We'll see what's going on. We'll see what's going on with the shoot. And so we ended up staying for at least a couple hours after morning skate had ended. But it was really fun trying to be detective of what was going on, get the little video clips that we could, even talking to a couple fans who stayed because they saw the name of the comedian, who I'm sorry, I don't remember right now.
Jack Harlow?
I should have looked. Yeah. Huh?
Was it Jack Harlow or something?
No, that's not
a singer, right?
Comedian.
I don't know.
He's a rapper.
Something like that.
No. But it wasn't. I think it was Jack something. So apologies to any fans of this comedian that was doing the movie. But it was fun sticking around and talking to fans of the comedian who recognized him and wanted to see what was going on, and kind of doing some collective detective work there. So that was just another one of those weird moments from the season of things that don't usually happen, but it stuck with me for sure. The game itself was a 3-1 loss to the Leafs that night. I don't remember anything about it, but I certainly remember that morning skate.
Yeah, no, it was a good one. And the Philip Grubauer moment's an all-time classic. And yes, having the Nightmare Before Christmas music just took it to that next level where it really needed to be.
Thank you, yes, for putting the name of the movie there. I have never seen Nightmare Before Christmas, so thank you for that. All right, and then the final one. I saved the best for last.
Okay.
It was the February 13th, the watch party with everybody for the Islanders game. We had one watch party each that we got to attend. Just logistically, only one could really go at once. And that February 13th watch party was the highlight of the season for me. Getting to spend that time with everybody, getting to meet so many new people, getting to put faces to names, and then seeing familiar people that we knew already. There's nothing better, Dylan. I have a feeling that your watch party will factor pretty heavily in your moments as well. But it was just a little bit, but it's just unforgettable for me. And then it feels like whenever we choose these watch parties, Dylan, the Kraken play along. They know somehow, right? We get fantastic games every single time. I don't know how we managed to do that, but the Kraken had lost a lot of games coming into that one. I mean, they had not been on the best stretch of play, but they pull out a 2-1 shootout win against the New York Islanders. And I remember the tension through the shootout, because there's nothing in the regular season more exciting than that, a shootout at the end of a game, especially with the overtime going back and forth. And the cheers, the chants, the tuna. I know people will bring that up too. So this is the one moment I had where people did talk about it on their submission. So I'll leave it kind of to them, but that whole group coming together, there's nothing like it. That's why we do this, right? For the community of it, for all of that. So the watch party, easily the highlight of the year for me, outside of, maybe the Winter Classic, which we will get to in a little bit.
Yes.
But that watch party, I will never forget.
It looked like a lot of fun. And I mean, it's kind of a perfect segue into what I was going to talk about, because the main thing that I think of as I spent the last week trying to think of what does season 3 mean to me, what are the memorable moments, what will I always kind of think back on if I think of the third season for the Kraken? What is it that I'm going to be thinking of 30 years from now, right? And I kept coming around to the emotional moments, and all of my emotional moments were really just being able to bond and experience Kraken hockey with other people. And those are the moments that I think are going to be the moments from season 3 that kind of always stick with me, more so than any of the on ice stuff. And I know you were able to experience kind of more of the unique moments that the NHL can provide, because you're up there and everything. And being further away, a couple thousand miles, it makes it a little hard sometimes to do that. So a lot of the hockey stuff, it was hockey stuff. It wasn't a great season. We kind of know that stuff. I've been around the game my entire life, so there wasn't too many things that really grabbed me from the on ice stuff. But the moments and the emotions that I get when I think back on this past season, they come from that, that communal place. I guess. And I think of things like being able to bond with Darren from Sound of Hockey really for the first time back when I was covering those games in November, and us watching those games together, and us finally kind of clicking, because we just had time to do that for the first time. I think of doing all the fun fake athlete interviews with Charles from Circling Seattle Sports, and having a good time with everybody doing those kind of behind the scenes. Those are always going to be fun memories for me. Standing in the media meal line with Benny Drawbars all done up right before the Winter Classic. Kind of had to do the New Year's thing a little early. I just remember the spats, the immaculate spats on Benny Drawbar's shoes there. Those were fantastic. I think of, and I referenced this last time, looking at the old hockey cards with Jeff Baker in LA. So we were killing time together. That was a lot of fun. Going to Taco Boys in Tempe, Arizona with Kate Shefty when we were covering one of the games out there in Arizona. That was a lot of fun. The media skate and being able to do that and spend time with Liv for the first time, meet Curtis Crabtree for the first time with Fox. It was the first time I ever met him, was there at the media skate. That was such a unique experience. Being able at the media happy hour afterwards to be able to get to know Zame and Allison Ballard at Davy Jones' locker room, kind of again for the first time. That was a lot of fun to be able to talk with them for a good amount of time and really, get to know them. And then of course, yes, the flat stick watch party at the end of the year it was incredible. Being able to, watch Shane Wright come in and kick ass, I think is obviously a part of it, but really it was just being able to be there with everybody, to be there with, 30 or 40 People from the ECH community, I don't get to see them that often, right? It's the first time I'd seen some of them in a year. For a lot of others, it's just the first time ever. And it was great to be able to, put faces to names for the first time is always something that's really important for me, because I'll sit there and post game after post game, I'll read, names hundreds of times, and finally being able to meet the person behind that name is always something that's emotional and enjoyable for me. And so being able to do that at the watch party was a lot of fun. But it was also like the first time that it really hit me, like what it is that we do here at ECH. And it was just kind of like there was this moment where it was during the first intermission had just hit. And I kind of went up because we were going to do a drawing. So I had to go up and get the bucket with all the tickets and everything. And just looking out then at the all the tables that have been stuck together in our watch party area, and just seeing everybody together, and the fact that I was seeing this community that represented all of the work that you and I have done for the last 3 years at that point, because it was towards the end of the third season, and that was really impactful for me. And it just meant a lot to see everybody brought together by the Kraken, but really by what we've been able to do here and build this community. And I just thought that was really cool, and I think that's what I'm gonna remember the most as I get all emotional after chopping onions in here. Yeah. As I think back on season 3, like I just don't think that anything's gonna be able to top that moment where it was just that I guess is that moment that everybody searches for, right? Where you feel like you've done something in this world, and you've left a mark on people, and you've done that stuff. And I had that this year, and so I think that's gonna kind of always be my my top moment when I think of season 3 of Kraken Hockey.
And you know what? I'll add a moment to my list here, and that's driving you back from Flatstick from that watch party, because I came to pick you up, and I could tell how impactful that was on you. And it kind of caught me by surprise a little bit. I was just like, whoa, something happened at this watch party. I don't know what. I'll talk to you, but wow. Yeah. And I could tell that it was just kind of, this life-changing moment for you. So as I see, the impact that it had on you. So even just that car ride back and the rest of that day was on that list for me, just seeing, the impact that had on you. And especially just given that I know how tough it has been on you, right? For 3 years to not be up here, and I get to do the lion's share of all the fun stuff, right? Seeing everybody being up here, all the things that you get from being in Seattle for all of this. And, I just cannot wait for this episode next year when I hear all the great memories that you have being up here in Seattle, as you'll be here for the whole season. And that's huge for me, for you, for everything.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I mean, as you know, and yeah, I'm sure that car ride would have been interesting for you. I don't get that way often, in the sense really like things generally don't shake me. Big things happen, and I just kind of roll with it right away, and we get going. But it was, like I said, it just felt like 3 years all kind of coming together all at once there, and it was really, really special. If I have to give a hockey thing, we can kind of transition over into this, because I know a lot of people, this is going to be the other big moment, and really when we think of the hockey, this will be the big moment, but that is the Winter Classic. For me, I think the biggest wow moment, the memory as far as, remembering sights, smells, all of that kind of stuff, or being around the team, will be that Winter Classic practice. The day before the Winter Classic. I think that's going to always stick with me. And it was both just, standing outside in the sunshine, watching hockey, being able to watch it with all the great media members, and our friends there doing that. And then also being able to go back into the locker room and talk to the players afterwards about what the ice was like, what that experience meant to them. I mean, I've never been back in a locker room where players have been so happy Right? Like, and I don't mean like happy, but like truly joyful and truly giddy about what they just got to do, and they've been able to share that with their families, and it really drove home how special this was, because on the media side of things, it felt special to us because it was the team that we cover and it's happening in the city that we cover and all of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, all around you is all of the NHL media people and all the NHL event organizers and all of that stuff, and this is just another Winter Classic to them in a way, right? Like, they've all got jobs to do, they're doing their jobs, this isn't their first rodeo. But so it felt like we were in this like small little group of like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then being able to go into the locker room and all the players were like right there with us of like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like that really drove home how like special that experience was. And I still think that'll probably stay for a very, very long time. Just my favorite interaction with the guys was being able to go and talk to them about what it was like to kind of skate out there and practice on that ice.
Right. It's rare when you have one of those moments where you're just like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like you said, and the players match your energy on that because they feel the exact same way. I mean, these are professionals. They played thousands of hockey games in their lives. This is what they do for a living and have done forever. But when they have a chance to experience something that those guys hadn't experienced anything like that. A couple of them had, played in outdoor games before, but like, it was brand new for everybody who was there. It felt like the players and for us, right? It was brand new for all of us. And that there was nothing else like that. And I remember just watching that whole practice. It felt like it could have lasted forever, as far as we were concerned. Right. Mm-hmm. Like I never would have gotten tired of just standing up there on by the glass, like we were, and just taking in the scene and taking in everything. And I think you pointed this out after the Winter Classic, after the game was done, after it was like January 3rd or something like that, right? Where that was the day where you really got the chance to kind of take it all in and let it all sink in. The day of the actual game, we were up in the press box for a lot of it. There was so much going on. You had to cover an actual hockey game that happened. But that was the day where I feel like everybody, because the players had to play a game, the coaches had to coach a game. That was the day where all you could do was just take it all in. Mm-hmm. And I think it impacted everybody in that same way because of it. And then of course for the players too, they had their morning skate, but also the family skate.
Yeah.
And they got to take their families out there and really enjoy it with the people that mattered the most to them. And I don't think we've ever seen the players in a better mood. No. Because what's better than that?
Yeah, exactly. So it was that I think is always going to be the big one, is that practice day for me, and just how it all went down and everything. I think is going to be the big one. But the Winter Classic as a whole, that is season 3 of Kraken hockey, right? That was the moment they pick up the incredible 3-0 win over the Vegas Golden Knights. It felt like everybody who was a Kraken fan was there. Like it's hard to run into like a Kraken fan, an ECH community member that's at least from the area that wasn't at that game. Everybody has a story from where they were sitting in that game, how much fun it was to watch Joey get the first ever shutout in Winter Classic history, to be able to watch the team win that game 3-0 over the Vegas team. Like the elements of that was important to everyone. Just the whole process of it was really spectacular. And what I found really interesting as we, slowly start to transition over into getting to everybody's wonderful submissions is everybody, it seemed like, was including in their submission. Obviously, the Winter Classic was huge, but like everybody's going to choose the Winter Classic, so I picked this other moment. And what's funny is nobody just straight up chose the Winter Classic. Everybody mentioned the Winter Classic, but everybody was like, obviously that was special. Here's this other thing. And I thought that was really, really, kind of funny, actually, as we were getting all the emails.
It says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says a lot about the game and how important it was that everybody assumed that everybody else was going to do this long, big thing about the Winter Classic and how great it was, but that nobody actually decided to do that. And I think that just speaks to how important it was and how, great everybody's memories of the event were. And also, I think we heard a lot about it afterward too, right after the Winter Classic, where everyone talking about kind of where they were and sending us. One thing I'm so glad that we did was, and I think you suggested this to me, it was right before the start of the game, and I was doing the whole kind of in position thing like I always do, like, all right, in position for the game, I'm ready, if you've seen the tweets. And I think you suggested, hey, ask everyone else where they are, like have them show us where they are. And we got so many different responses from people, all different angles of seeing the game, and including people watching on their TV. But everybody wanted to kind of show where they were for that moment. And looking through that tweet and that thread of just where everybody's angles for the game, I looked back at it yesterday, and it brought back a whole lot of memories too. And so everyone kind of has their own story and their own perspective of where they were.
Yeah, it made the big event feel small and community driven, right? Like being able to see everybody, and we were all there. We all had our own little setups, but we were all sharing in it together. And yeah, again, with season 3 was just like the community year for me, and that is certainly another moment of that. But we should get to everybody's stuff. We're 30 minutes in. We should get to all the wonderful submissions we have from everybody, because we have a lot of them. Gonna start off with the audio file that we have here from Russ. Apologies. Normally we do open up like our Google voice line. We were having some issues with it, so we weren't able to really do that. But Russ went ahead and sent us an audio clip that we'll go ahead and play here, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. So I'll get that started now.
Yo, RJ and Dylan and the entire ECH community. This is Russ over in Tri-Cities, wanting to share my favorite Kraken moment. My mind immediately went to the Joey Daccord Scorpion save, or that first LA Tolvanen redirect goal in the Winter Classic. But actually, I kind of have a personal life thing. I don't even know if this counts as a moment. It's just a funny anecdote. My sister just had a newborn child, and another fun fact about her is she does not like Bowie and thinks he's creepy. So I, of course, being the troll that I am, bought the Bowie plush toy from the Seattle Kraken team store. And lo and behold, her 6-month-old child, his favorite toy was Bowie. He had to take it with him everywhere. He loved everything about it, would hug it regularly. And my sister would just have to sit there and be like, I am stuck with this freak in my house. So I think he's moved on since to an IKEA octopus, but whatever. I love it. It was so much fun. And it was just a great time, and being able to share that with my family, and the gift of Bowie keeps on giving. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yes, RJ, the natural evolution from Bowie to the IKEA octopus, which, hey, it's still Kraken related, kind of, right? Like it's still an octopus. I'll give it to him. But I just love this call, because this is 1,000% how I would behave if my sister had a child. And I would immediately just whatever bugged her, I would make sure that kid loved it. And so I very much feel this call.
Yes, I could definitely see you doing that a little bit down the road. I loved this call too. I started laughing as soon as I heard the edit when I first listened to the audio clip, and I knew we had to start things off with it, because it just puts things on this great lighthearted tone, and well done there with the excellent trolling.
Yes.
In I'm sure Bowie would be proud.
Yes. No, it's yeah. Nothing represents the spirit of Bowie more than that. Having the little freak in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you kick us off with the written in comments from people here.
All right. So we'll start here with a submission. I'll just kind of read the written ones from Ben here. So Ben says, Dylan and RJ, interestingly enough, my 2 favorite moments this season were off the ice. First, the rise of Joey Daccord was spectacular, not just as a Kraken fan, but for Seattle and Kraken hockey altogether. Specifically, his interview on Spit and Chicklets put the Kraken on the map in a way that, in my opinion, nothing else had, not even the Winter Classic. The hockey world got to hear his story and got to see the opportunity the Kraken organization gave him. So many people, especially East Coast hockey fans and even some non-NHL fans, reached out to me and told me how much they liked Joey's interview. It was the most I've ever seen non-Seattle fans show interest in the Kraken, and it was awesome. I'm not sure if this second one counts since it took place after the season ended, but I also thought the hiring of Dan Bilesma was a special day. After a disappointing, sometimes weird season on the ice, I saw unity amongst Kraken fans for the first time since the previous season's playoff run. Even without knowing how the season will go, Disco Dan has already brought Kraken fans together in excitement for the upcoming year. As always, appreciate everything you guys do for Kraken fans, ECH, and the hockey community altogether. You guys are awesome. Keep up the good work, and I will look forward to another exciting year with you all. Very respectfully, Ben.
Yes. It is a good respectable email there. Yeah, I mean, both of these are great. Let's go ahead and talk about Joey Daccord because we talked about him already a little bit, but that was a big moment when he did do that interview. It was kind of an introduction to this person for a lot of hockey fans, a lot of non-Seattle fans, and I always think whenever anybody from the West Coast, really, I'll expand that even outside of the Kraken circle, has those moments. It's just always nice because that kind of like the media hotbed that is Toronto, the Northeast fans, all of that kind of stuff. It reminds them like, hey, we've got really good stuff going on out here on the West Coast, right? Like we have our own storylines, we have our own incredible players, we have our own incredible moments. So I very much feel what Ben is talking about there with when it comes to Joey Daccord and doing that interview. And I remember, I mean, that went on for like a week. Everybody was just talking about that interview. It was arguably the most like impactful a Seattle Kraken player has been away from the ice, like as far as the team and like kind of driving up interest and just engaging with the broader hockey community. I struggle to think of anything bigger than that.
Right. I don't think I can. Yeah, no, maybe not. I don't think so. Yeah. I'm kind of racking my memory here, but I don't think so. I mean, maybe Bowie when Bowie was introduced, but that's not really a Kraken player, so I don't know. Yeah. Because that went a little bit viral, but otherwise, no, I don't think so. And that was a great interview that Joey gave. And look, we know how great his personality is. We know how likable he is. And so for a sit down like that for that long, there's so many moments from that interview that still stick out to me where I felt like I learned something important about him too. Whether it was, his talking about his journey to get there, how his decision to re-sign with the Kraken, because at that point, I remember thinking maybe he would kind of go elsewhere because he had the options right before he signed this 2-year deal with Seattle, but talking about the loyalty that the organization had shown him and that they wanted to give him that opportunity to kind of take that job and run with it. That stood out to me. And then also talking about his process and the way he is on game days, which as a media member, I've got to experience, right? A lot of goalies, they kind of locked in, do not talk to me on game day. I've got my process, do not mess with it. And Joey's not that way. Even if he's starting that, I go up and just chat with him about whatever, and he's totally cool with it. And he talked about how he used to be the kind of locked in type of goalie. And he said, he would get really focused and be really mad if you talked to him. And then at a certain point, he kind of had this realization of like, well, maybe other guys need that. Doesn't want to knock anyone who is that way, but just like, I'm only making it not fun for myself and others. Like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be me the whole time, and it'll work out or it doesn't. And so that's another one that sticks with me from that interview, where and I think people listening to that, you hear that and like, yeah, I like this guy. I want to root for this guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's that kind of guy. The second part of Ben's email about the hiring of Dan Bylsma as coach for the Seattle Kraken and how unifying it was for Kraken fans, I think is also important because after a strange season, a not so great season, I think Kraken fans really kind of wanted that, and they needed something that everybody could kind of get excited about and have hope for the future together. And Dan Bylsma coming in, the coaching staff he's assembled around him, the moves the Kraken have made in the offseason, they've all done that. And to be able to come off of the season that the Kraken had last year and have there be this much excitement, into July, it's going to be into August, everybody's going to be just waiting for the season to start, is really impressive how the Kraken have kind of been able to, turn that around so quickly. And so I want to give them a shout out for that, and certainly Ben for bringing that up, because I do think that is important, and it does kind of connect and tell part of the story from season 3.
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of caps off the end of how everything went. And I like the Ben's line about the unity among the Kraken fans. And I totally agree with that. We hadn't seen unity like that since the playoffs the previous year. And it's something that you always love to see from a fan base when everyone can kind of come together and get behind something we all think is good.
Yeah. Now we were going to alternate these. I'm going to have you take this next one, RJ, so that then I can take the one after that. Just because.
Yes, I think that's.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Good idea. All right. So this one is from Sherry saying, my second favorite memory is attending my first practice, enjoying the sound of puck and stick. Topping that is attending my first Kraken game on April 9th. great seats, 5-0 win, favorite player scored a goal, goalie hugs, yeeted fish. Thanks for creating awesome content. And this is from Sherry. So, I mean, what more can you ask for, right? From a game, favorite player scoring a goal, goalie hugs, yeeted fish, all of that. And that 5-0 win over Arizona, it would be the last time potentially the Kraken ever played the Arizona Coyotes. I mean, we'll see if one day they come back and play against the Kraken, right? But it was also the final home win of the season. Shane Wright scoring a big goal in that one as well. And it was kind of like the last little party we had at home before the Kraken, would lose on fan appreciation night and then head out for the road.
Yeah. It was a good game. It was kind of a nice little, nice little finish to the end of the season a little bit, right? And I think that's how it'll be remembered. And then obviously from a personal standpoint, yes, being able to check all the boxes. You get the shutout win, you get your favorite player scoring a goal, you get the goalie hugs and everything, and you get the yeeted fish. That is as much as you could ever hope for going to a hockey game. And so glad Sherry was able to experience all that there. All right.
Speaking of the Arizona Coyotes, though.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say.
Lead to the
next one. Yes. So, this is from Katie. This email here. We took our first trip to an away game and saw the Kraken lose in overtime at Mullet Arena on March 22nd. Although we ended up losing, we sat right behind the Kraken bench and had some memorable moments. The first was seeing Riker score his first NHL goal. It was amazing to see such joy on a normally stoic face. The second was after Tanev missed a breakaway goal. This was not the highlight. He broke the door when he returned to the bench from slamming it so hard. Belly did an amazing job holding it shut for many minutes of play until a trainer slammed it permanently shut. See attached videos for the sequence of events. Separately, a highlight of the season was continuing to befriend the people who sit around us. We have season tickets and have formed fun relationships with those who share seats around us. We've exchanged phone numbers and photos, and I look forward to catching up with them after long breaks. Thanks, and go Kraken, Katie. I love this. I love, the community stuff there, at the end. Season ticket holders becoming friends, sharing phone numbers, sharing experiences together. Again, we've talked about the importance of community around sports before, talked obviously about the importance of it with ECH here earlier in this podcast. So I love that stuff. And then yes, that Kraken OT loss Mullen Arena I'm very familiar with, was at that game. It was a tough one. Although Riker's first NHL goal was obviously a big highlight, that massive smile that not even he could contain. It's very much a highlight from this season, and that was a big one. And then I love the personal story of kind of being there behind the bench and how Belmar had to hold the door closed after Tanev broke it. Like those are the kinds of unique moments and stories I love getting, and I love that the community shares with us.
Yeah, and thank you, Katie, for including those videos too. That was funny just watching it back, as Belly has to be kind of the door guy, and of course it's him. Yeah. Of course it's him doing all that. It's just such a Belmar type of move. Yeah. So yeah, that was great story, and good to kind of relive that from an angle that we never got to see. We never got to see that on TV. No. This is a brand new, story, version of events for us. Right.
And so I absolutely love having that kind of stuff brought in here and everything. So definitely thanks Katie for that one. I can just keep it rolling here and read these next two if you want, RJ.
Go ahead.
So this first one's from DJ Singletone. My favorite moment from the 23-24 Seattle Kraken season has been seeing Shane Wright called up at the end of the season and looking like he belonged on the team, gaining confidence along the way. It's been a long, winding road for Shane these last few years, but the development is looking like it's paying off, and I was so proud to see not only his performance with Seattle, but also his playoff performances afterwards with Coachella. And nobody watches more of all the Kraken prospects than DJ Singletone. I mean, maybe some members of the Kraken, like maybe, but I think for the most part that crown belongs to DJ Singletone. And what I know, DJ Singleton has followed Shane Wright's entire road, watching Shane at all of the various levels that Shane has played since he's been drafted by the Kraken. And so, yes, I have to imagine that it was a very special feeling for DJ Singleton to be able to watch Shane Wright come up to the NHL, as he said, look like he belonged on the team, gain that confidence. That must have been a really cool experience there. It was for all of us, but like I said, nobody was watching more Shane Wright tape than DJ Singleton. So absolutely, DJ Singleton earned that moment.
Definitely. I mean, when I think of Kraken prospects and I think of Kraken prospect coming up, I do think of DJ Singletone. I always go look at the Discord, and to kind of see what DJ Singletone thinks of the different Kraken prospects. And because again, I don't watch very much prospect tape. I know you watch a lot more than I do, Dylan. And so I know to defer to the people who watch a lot more. And that's you and DJ Singleton a lot of the time.
Yep. So love the message there from DJ Singletone, and then the next message here from Gaby. The favorite moment here: Shane Wright getting called up and immediately whooping ass. Also drafting Berkeley Catton after Shane had just crushed it last season, and realizing the two of them would be perfect together, and we get that for the next 1,000 years. So, obviously feeling pumped up about everything, Shane Wright's domination and the drafting of Berkeley Catton. 1,000 years might be a little bit of a stretch, although who knows what modern sports medicine is going to be able to cook up in the next decade and a half. You could expect their careers to go on, but I love the enthusiasm and excitement for the young guys, right? And kind of keeping those two messages together there. I love that.
Yeah, I will allow it and withhold my aging curve cynicism that I usually bring to most discussions involving player longevity. Sure, 1,000 years, why not?
Yeah, what is your model? What does Dom from the Athletics model say about 1,000 years out on a contract? Probably not great.
Let's see. I mean, you know what? Hey, just if they can somehow just turn 30 1,000 years from now,
yes,
be fine.
So as long as you continue to just continually be 29, you're set.
Yep, that's my strategy here. I'm trying to figure out a way in the next year or so to make that the case.
Yeah, yes.
Too late for you.
I failed. Yes, I failed.
All right. So lots of excitement around Shane Wright and kind of what he represents in the future. And so let's get to another Shane Wright related moment. This one from Gary. Gary says, Dylan and RJ, my favorite moment of 2023-24 was obviously the Winter Classic, but since everybody else is likely to have the same experience, this is what we're getting at. My second is April 1st, 2024 versus San Jose. This would be the first game back in the lineup for Shane Wright after spending almost the entire season with Coachella Valley. We know he had been working hard at the AHL level, but would he be able to replicate that at the NHL level? That night would be one of his best NHL performances, showcasing why he deserved the first overall consideration. He would score what would become the game-winning goal late in the first, a beautiful end-to-end effort by Shane to bring it from the D zone through traffic in the neutral to give a touch pass to Schwartz, who feeds it right back to Shane. The pass back is bad, but Shane, full flight, juggles the puck out of midair and finds Ebbs on the far side. Jordan gets it back to Shane, who buries it backdoor. What an absolutely insane goal. If that wasn't enough, Matty scored the first goal of the game, and we even saw Cartier score, though it was disallowed for offside. Yeah, I remember that. After a long season of heartbreak, our young talent was on full display that night and gave us a glimpse at what a bright future we have in store. Thank you again for your great content. Look forward to hearing about everyone's favorite moments on the next deep dive. All the best, Gary. So, way to paint a picture there, Gary.
Yes.
Because I could just see it in my mind exactly how that goal went down, especially with Shane Wright slamming that puck into, by that time, an open net for the goal to make it 3-1 in that game against San Jose. And yeah, I mean, this felt like he had arrived and we were all watching him. We were all focused in on him for this game, and he looked great, and he would continue to look great throughout the rest of that call up. And I think it's something that everybody really needed going into, because I mean, putting ourselves back in that position, you know, there were a lot of reasons to be down at that point. It was kind of a depressing mood around the team and around everything. And I think that Shane Wright call up really helped everybody get in a better mindset of thinking, okay, yeah, this season wasn't good, but the future is bright.
Yeah, exactly. It was, I mean, it was, you know, going back to like the Ben email, we talked about kind of the unifying aspects of this off season, and a lot of that is built around the hope for the future. That was very much a time for that with amongst the Kraken fans while the season was still going on, that April call up for Shane Wright, and also, you know, like Ryan Winterton, Logan Morrison, and those guys coming up late in the year, because at that point, you know, season was over. We knew what the situation was with the Kraken. It wasn't, you know, they weren't going anywhere. And everybody was just so dialed in for that, and everybody wanted Shane Wright to succeed. And everybody, it felt like, was willing for a situation like this to play out, where he was going to have a look at a goal and be able to to score one. And for him to score on that first game of that call up, I think was huge for everybody. And it just kind of uplifted everybody's spirits. And then we had like the second best 2-week stretch of Kraken hockey from then on out, really, from everybody, like at least vibes wise. And it kind of really kickstarted with that moment, with that goal. So I love that Gary brought this one up, and as you said, describing it so eloquently too was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So now next one I have, and I think you can take this one because it literally starts with your name. This one from Rob Four Horsemen. It is poetry, Dylan, just like the last one. So I'll let you read this one out.
It is poetry. So Dylan Travers, Emerald City Hockey Community, electric atmosphere, pretzels at Flatstick Pub, disrespected Shane Wright scores 2 goals and 3 points, inevitable win over Ducks, victory celebrations abound, excited for more game watches next season. That is a lovely little poem there from Four Horsemen about everything. And yes, I mean, used a lot fewer words than I used earlier to describe how awesome that watch party was and being together with everybody.
Yeah, and of course, it's easier to notice if you're just looking at it written here, but maybe not if
Yes.
you're just listening to the podcast or watching it on YouTube. The first letter of every line spells out deep dive.
Yeah. It's really dope. It is really dope. So love that one from Four Horsemen. Did a fantastic job with it, and it is really cool. And one of many brought me Chex Mix at that game too, by the way, at the watch party. So I'll give Four Horse for the shout out for that as well.
Yes, appreciate that. I appreciate everybody who gave Dylan Chex Mix at the watch party. He came back. That was part of the car ride that I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
He just all of a sudden he had like 3 or 4 bags of Chex Mix. I was like, where did this come from? And Gatorade. So
Yes.
what happened here?
It was fantastic.
So appreciate that from everybody. All right, so this next one from Sam here talks about a moment, but also maybe leads us into August, into our next month of podcasts as well. So hello, boys. This is Sam. My personal favorite moments didn't involve a Kraken game, but was Kraken related. I went to 4 T-Birds games this past season, and those 4 games were specifically against teams with Kraken prospects on them: Rockets, Americans, Silvertips, and Warriors. It was really cool both rooting for the T-Birds and analyzing how each Kraken prospect looked in game action. Also, I have some way too early bold predictions. So that's our August theme. 1, Chandler Stevenson will lead the team in scoring. That is bold.
Yeah.
2, Goyette or Newman will play an NHL game this season. 3, Tanev stays, but Yanni will get traded. Ooh, that's also, these are good bold ones. 4, Wright and Slavkovsky will both score when we're against the Habs in Montreal. 5, at least one of the 4 alternate captains will lose their A's to someone else. Hope next season is a great one, Sam. All right. I mean, there's so much to unpack with those bold predictions. But let's talk about the T-Birds and the Kraken prospects and everything too, because it's not just the Kraken playing hockey in this area. There's lots of great junior hockey all throughout the state of Washington, and it does give a real good opportunity to watch Kraken prospects in action, because as we saw with this last draft, they do like to draft some guys in their own backyard, whether it's Berkeley Catton and Julius Miettinen this year, or the players on the teams that Sam mentioned there. I'm sure it was fun watching Jagger Firkus in that final junior season. I mean, he was pretty unstoppable. Did terrorize the T-Birds a little bit though, so sorry if you're a Thunderbirds fan, but still great to see that talent in action.
Definitely, and that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to being up there, is going to be able to go to those games on the off Kraken nights and be able to check out some of the Kraken prospects in person outside of a dev camp setting. Like, that's going to be wild. So I'm very much looking forward to being able to do that and have fun the way Sam did, going to those games and checking out the Kraken prospects. So I love that. I'm wondering if we should save the way too early bold predictions for next week when we kick off way too early, and we can kind of go over them to do that. I think that would be good.
I think we should. Yeah.
So we'll save digging into those for next week, Sam. But thanks for the message. I'll take these next two because they go together.
Yep.
from the wonderful Chuck and Shannon. Both individually wrote in, and this is fantastic here. So, hey guys, this first one's from Chuck. Hey guys, favorite 2 moments from this past season. 1, Shannon and I took a trip through Canada, going to Kraken games in Toronto, Ottawa, and then Montreal. In Ottawa, we were down at the glass for pregame warm-ups, wearing our Kraken jerseys. At one point, Ty Cartier was down by the glass right next to us, and Jamie Alexiak. Shannon remembers it as Borgen, and she may be right. Came gliding up and gave a playful shoulder check to Cartier, basically sandwiching him on the glass right in our faces, shaking the glass and startling us. They both had kind of a chuckle and skated away, and what fun that was to get that little gift of connection from them to a pair of fans that were in that distant city supporting the team. I could tell you it is startling when that happens. I've been down there at like Firebirds warm-ups and stuff, and they do that, and it does catch you off guard. It's a good one. And then 2, we went to a watch party at Flatstick Pub in February to see the Kraken versus the Islanders and to see you, RJ. It was great fun just to be at the long table with all the Kraken fans in the ECH community. But then the game went to a shootout, and Tomasz Tatar got to take one of the attempts. The whole group broke out into tuna, tuna, tuna as he was gliding down for his shot. And then we all got to cheer as he scored what proved to be the game winner. Thank you guys again for all you do, your dedication and hard work to provide education, analysis, and fun for the Kraken fan community here, Chuck. So lovely email there. And I remember Chuck and Shannon, when you both took your trip through Canada, they were very nice and sent us emails kind of as they were going with pictures. And I remember when it snowed in Montreal and it looked just gorgeous. The pictures that they shared with us were absolutely stunning, and the road trip looked like so much fun. That's got to be so cool to be able to follow your team as they hit all those incredible hockey cities and cool important cities for Canada as well. So love the email here and all of it, and then obviously the tuna chance that you got to experience at your watch party, RJ.
Yeah, unforgettable. I mean, there's a reason I even mentioned them earlier when I was talking about that watch party. The shootout was special. The whole watch party was special, but the shootout especially, when we all kind of came together and were just glued to that TV for the entire shootout.
Yeah, so I very much can imagine how much fun that would have been in a community setting to be able to share that moment together. It's what sports is all about. So I love that one. And then on to the next message here from Shannon. Hey, RJ and Dylan, you asked about favorite memories from the season, and a few of the things that quickly came to mind for me are: 1, the absolute comfort brought by the company and camaraderie of the ECH community during countless post-game live sessions. Whether we were hustling to our car after a game or simply tuning in from the sofa with our dogs, it was always fun to hear from Dylan, RJ, and the community. Not only is there joy or solace from the shared experience, I also appreciated learning and gaining insight or clarity about what I had seen on the ice. Bonus moments often involve Dylan's giggle, which cannot miss making one smile. So there we go.
True.
I know, there it is. 2, the Eberle 1000 game celebration after waiting to find out if he would get a contract extension. A Kraken first and part of our history forever. 3, Joey's entertaining crowd engagement, from him egging on the crowd while we celebrated with and for him and a team victory. Some more good Joey moments there. Number 4, I'm confident the Winter Classic has many mentions. So many facets of this were historic, special, and memorable. I loved being in a sea of Kraken sweaters in our gorgeous ballpark in January. 5, I doubt this applies to last season. However, I was so delighted to experience disco for the first time at Dev Camp. The contrast, nothing against Hackstall, could not have been more stark. I loved that we could hear him engaging with the guys and that he was banging on the boards in support. It gave me chills and hope. And then 6, finding out that Dylan is moving to Seattle. Thanks for everything you do, Shannon. Yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of mentioned that earlier. I haven't made like a formal announcement on a deep dive. I'll let you do it, Shannon. Mm-hmm. But yes, I am moving to Seattle for next season. So looking forward to that. It's kind of been a little bit of an open secret in the community now for about a month. But we'll go ahead and make that official announcement here. Yeah, I mean, again, you get the Winter Classic mention, which obviously we've talked about is fantastic. Talking about Disco and what he's going to bring to the team and how excited that made everybody this past month. The Eberle 1000 game celebration, that's a good one that nobody else has mentioned. You were there for that one, so I'll let you kind of talk about it.
Yeah, so that one, I mean, there was a lot of speculation about whether he would be moved at the deadline, as mentioned there, right? I mean,
yeah.
I thought maybe there was a greater chance that he would be gone and that it wouldn't happen. And so everybody was kind of waiting on that. And then as soon as he signed the extension, you realized it was going to actually happen. And it was a big moment for him and for his family. And we've seen him around a lot since like he was an original member of the Seattle Kraken, and for him to kind of have that moment too, and with his family too, because his family has been super involved in everything as well. I mean, his wife's really involved in stuff around the team and around the community. So just a great moment for all of them. And it because it was the second 1,000-game celebration that the Kraken have had, and the contrast between that and Gio's, where again, nothing against Gio, but just look, knowing that he was going to be gone, and that it was kind of a goodbye party. And so it was really much more of a on the bitter side of bittersweet in the Gio one. And with Eberle knowing that he had just signed that extension, it was the first thing like that we could all just celebrate, knowing that something unfortunate wasn't coming right after.
Right. And also Eberle just been around longer, right? Like Gio was around for half a season at that point. So it was still like a little strange in that way as well. So yeah, that was obviously a fantastic moment. Very much agree with Shannon on that one, and love all the kind words about the post-game lives and everything too, because those are obviously very, very special to both of us and what we do here, and I know for the community at large. And certainly after a season like this, being able to go there, kind of have that solace with everybody, come together, the camaraderie, as Shannon called it, is a lot of fun. And I just think of how many rough games were followed by fun post games, and I think of how much fun that is, and how great it is to have that for all of us. So definitely love the shout out for those as well.
Yep. The Emerald City therapy is real, not just for you guys, but for us, maybe for us more than anybody else. Really, the Emerald City therapy is real. So, going to move on here to our next submission. This one from Daniel. My favorite moments from last year, other than the Winter Classic, of course, and Borgen putting Ryan Donato in a headlock, were the two games against Boston, especially the one in Boston where the two hometown kids got to show off in front of their hometown fans. So I'm glad somebody mentioned the Boston games, especially the road game in Boston, because that was one of those games later in the season where it felt like things had kind of come together again after a bit of a rough patch after their big winning streak, and where it felt like the Boston guys, Joey Daccord and Matty Beniers, got to really step up, show their stuff in their hometown. And that was one of the more fun and entertaining post-game, interviews. Again, I wasn't there. I wasn't in Boston for that game, but watching it back afterwards, how happy Joey was, how happy Matty was. It was one of those nice little islands of everything is going right in the season where a lot of things didn't go right.
Yeah, exactly. It was just good to see guys have strong performances that meant something to them, and to be able to share in that moment with them in a season where we didn't get that too often. I mean, we had that at like the Winter Classic with Joey, and I think that's partly why that's such a special moment for everybody. But that game really did mean a lot. I remember doing the post game for it, and how pumped everybody was, and people referencing it for like weeks and if not months afterwards too, because it was such a visceral moment for us all to experience that and have those guys perform well and play that well in, kind of their hometown and everything. It really did mean a lot to a lot of people. So I am very happy that Daniel brought that one up.
Yeah. And also knowing that the games against Boston, it just feels like they're instant classics.
Yeah,
at this point
they are
right. Whenever the Kraken play the Bruins, for some reason, it's going to be a great game, and so I just enjoyed having that anticipation. Live up to the hype, basically twice.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The next one we have here is from Kalen. My favorite moment from last season is when Eberle scored the overtime game-winning goal against Detroit and was blessed by a McCann kiss. There's something about McCann's sincerity that just makes it perfect. And then all of the Winter Classic, but that's everyone's fan favorite moment. So again, so much of that this go around. But yeah, that OT GWG RJ against Detroit and the McCann kiss. McCann always knew how to make like moments this year feel special. You know what I mean? Like all of these, and it was him with Riker, right? When Riker scored his first NHL goal. Like McCann is somebody who understands the moment, and his sincerity, as you put it, Kalen, is very genuine and very apparent, and it leads to lots of fun moments just like that one.
Right. I mean, McCann, maybe more than anybody else on this team, is You know how invested he is in every moment, how locked in he is. And we heard it this season a lot in the context of frustration over losing, which, that there was a lot of that, this past year. But I think it's important to remember those times that he's every bit as engaged in the positive moments as well. Because he wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's how he is. And so when things do go really well, and when you do have a moment like that, the sincerity, like that Kaylin mentions about that too, because you didn't have time to think about that.
No.
He's not like, okay, well, if Ebbs pots this, I'm going to go over and give him a kiss because that's going to be fun, right? No, I mean, you have half a second to think about that. And that's just the way that he immediately thought to react to something like that, because he's so in it, right? And that's what we all love about him.
Yep. Definitely. So I really love that moment from Kaylin, because it is a special moment, and it highlights one of everybody's favorite Kraken players, McCann, and the kind of guy that he is. I'll go ahead and take this next one to RJ, just because it kind of goes with it. It's the other overtime game against Detroit. This message from Sam: took my son to his first Kraken game, the OT loss versus Detroit, or as he called them, the Tire Fires. I love that name, by the way. I'm breaking out of the message to say that we need to refer to them as such. Back to the message. Didn't make it to nearly as many games as I usually do last season, but that was at least a special moment for us, and then included a photo. I love this. These are the moments that I always love hearing, is when people take somebody to their first Kraken game, and then especially when you get the moments of parents taking children to their first game. Those are just unbelievably special moments always, and throwing in the fun little anecdote of calling them the Tire Fires, which I totally understand why a child would call them that. That's what it looks like, and it works in so many ways. So I really love this message.
Yeah, definitely. And the Tire Fires thing, it's great. And I love getting kids' perspectives on the game, right? The way that they see things in a way that we can't really see them as adults, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's coming up with something like the Tire Fires, or just asking the questions that we don't always think to ask ourselves about, okay, why is this going on too? I remember last year we had a moment that someone brought up where it was the game where Vince Dunn kind of lost his head and was having that tantrum, right? And using it as kind of a parenting lesson to explain what's going on and all of that. But those are some of my favorite stories, where you bring kids to games, and it's a way to create a fan for life too.
Yeah.
And that's just something that's great for the sport. We always talk about growing the game and doing things that are just good for hockey in general. And there's not much better than that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really, really solid. So, love that.
All right. So this next one here from Larissa. Hello, sorry, I have no chill when it comes to picking my favorite moments from the season. I can't choose just one, and I need to send this now before I think of any more to include. The game against Carolina in October. It wasn't just that it was the first win of the season. It was the way they won. 7 goals by 7 different goal scorers. It was the first time we had seen the Kraken team we knew from the previous season. Plus, we got Cartier's first official NHL goal, and he followed it up by sticking up for McCann, a Sioux boy sticking up for a Sioux boy. That game against Columbus at the end of the winning streak, while I wish that game never happened considering the injuries it left the team with, this game had one of my favorite moments. Literally the second after Matty hit the boards, Dunn dropped his gloves without hesitation and didn't hold back against Sillinger. While I don't love pointless fighting in hockey, the way players stand up for their teammates is one of my favorite things about this sport, and this was such a great display of it from this season. Special mentions to Shane's 3-point game and almost Hattie against the Ducks, the Joey love during the Winter Classic, Bjorkstrand's awesome shot block as he slid across the crease, McCann's kiss to Eberle's helmet after his overtime goal against Detroit, that bonkers game against the Ducks with all the power plays. Yeah. I really loved the favorite moments episode from last year, so can't wait for this episode. So thank you for that, Larissa. So many great moments mentioned, especially a few at the end there that we'd already talked about because other people had brought them up. But I'm also glad that you brought up some that I feel like this wouldn't really be complete without. Like that first win against Carolina, which I think is easy to forget because it just feels like so long ago, doesn't it, Dylan?
Yeah, it does.
All the way back in October. But yeah, it was really that first glimpse of, okay, maybe that Kraken team from last year is still here, right? Mm-hmm. You could kind of get that hope from there. And then the Sioux boy sticking up for a Sioux boy. I remember being in the room for that one. And I think a lot of people in there were kind of, the media people were like, what is he talking about? But of course I knew, from the junior connection, and I knew I had to put that out there right away. So that was awesome to see kind of the teamwork there. And then, the moment against Columbus, where, and sorry, I'll let you talk shortly, Dylan, but where as soon as Maddie gets driven to the boards by Sillinger there, Vince Dunn went full Undertaker mode and made sure that he would stand up for his teammate. And yes, the injuries that happen with it are unfortunate, but especially given the questions that we had early this season, because you go back to the start of the season and there were a lot of concerns about, is this a team that sticks up for each other or not? After some of the plays where Jared McCann got hit by various guys, right? And Dunn left no question about that after that game against Columbus, going right after Matty Beniers. And I think everybody in that moment knew, okay, this is a team that stands up for each other. These guys, they are tight, they do play for each other, and there's not going to be any hesitation if someone goes down.
Yeah, and it was really important for everybody to see that and feel that and kind of go through that, because it was a very emotional moment for all of us when that happened, watching Maddie go down. Maddie had kind of been figuring it out a little bit. We obviously knew the situation from the previous season with him and potential concussion and everything. So it was a very emotional moment, and for Dunn to kind of do what everybody wanted in that moment, and everybody kind of wished they probably could, was really important, and it was something that we had needed to see during that season, because it was just such a storyline. Like, thinking back to beginning of the season, I just remember what a storyline that was, that the guys weren't really kind of doing that for each other. And so I think it is important that Larissa brings up these two moments where it did very much happen for the group. And then also all the fun stuff, like that game against the Ducks. Like, yes, the game was like one big long power play. It was kind of ridiculous. And the way the coaches talked about it afterwards was kind of fun, because you never plan for that. And the players, it kind of threw them all off rhythm. And it was just like a crazy game, and it was a lot of fun. So I liked that one in there. And obviously Bjorkstrand's incredible shot block as well. Like, that was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, definitely some great moments in there. Can I take the next one, Dylan, here?
Yeah, go for it.
From Elizabeth?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Elizabeth says, favorite moment, McCann kissing Eberle after the OT win against Detroit. So much was going on in that sequence. Dunn pinned to the floor like a turtle on his back, Eberle falling to his knees in an oof, thank God motion, and then a smooch from McCann to top it off. And me screaming and celebrating at 4 a.m. in the morning, 4,000 plus miles away from it all. Most favorite moment of the past season. Off the ice highlight was making the trip to Seattle and meeting all the ECH members and Kraken fans I met along the way, who have been so welcoming and kind. Without them, that trip would have been only half as fun. And Elizabeth included a photo as well of her. And I wanted to get this one because I had the chance to meet Elizabeth during that trip over, and seeing how much fun that she had during that. Even got to take some pictures from the press box with my super zoom camera. So she was not aware of this, but like of her meeting Bowie and just seeing the look on her face through all of that. I remember I came down into the tunnel for warm-ups to hang out with her and lots of other Kraken fans who really embraced her, right? Knew the trip that she was going on and just wanted to spend time with her and show her all the cool stuff at Climate Pledge Arena, and that having to do with the Kraken game that they had experienced. Now she was getting to experience for the first time, and just seeing the community come together for somebody who had traveled so far to experience this for themselves the first time. I remember she even got the little first game certificate that they normally give out to kids going to their first games, but I thought it was super fitting there. It was great. There was, sticker exchanges. I gave out stickers. She gave me a sticker from her hometown. It was just such a fun moment for the community to come together and enjoy this with somebody else who was enjoying it for the first time.
Yeah, it was a really special moment for, I think, a lot of us in the ECH community, that Elizabeth was able to have that whole experience and everything. Everybody was just so pumped for it. It was a lot of fun. Even watching it from as far away, it was still really cool and a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then also I want to give a shout out to not just Elizabeth, but we have so many people in the ECH community that watch Kraken games at all kinds of odd times in the morning because they are somewhere else, whether it's in Europe. I mean, we have people in Australia. We have, we've gotten messages from people all over the globe who are Kraken fans. And I really respect and admire the commitment to it, because it's really hard being a North American sports fan. somewhere else in the world where the time zones really don't align for you. And so got a lot of respect for Elizabeth and for everybody else. And actually, I do want to, I know we have our list here, skip ahead. Yeah. Because this one from Philip in Czechia, my most favorite moment in the season was the full Winter Classic match, which we watched from Czech. And my next favorite moments when I watched matches at 4 a.m. in the night. And my next unforgettable experience was when Belmar gave me a puck at the IIHF 24 at the World Championships, and Philip included a couple pictures there. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Watching games at 4 a.m., just to be a Kraken fan and follow along with all of us and watch it live. That is awesome. So thank you for sending in that message there, Philip, all the way from Czechia. And so glad to see you got a puck from Belmar at the awesome. IHF Championships too. That is really great. And I know the players do appreciate when fans come in from other parts of the world, right, to see those championships and realize that they're, like not just a hockey fan from there, but a Kraken fan all the way, in Czechia or in Europe or anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, it's really, really cool to see. So I love having these two messages from the community, just because it shows how global the game is, how global the Kraken are, and then even how global we are, which is still like just kind of a wild thing to think about. And I'm really happy that we're able to give them a voice in all this, just as much as fans that are in Seattle. And that the way we kind of operate things and we run things and we have the post games and we have episodes of the podcast like this, and how we are able to include fans from anywhere, that if they want to talk about and experience Kraken hockey with other Kraken fans, that, we give them a way of doing that. And I think that that's really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure I'll butcher this, but Chikui, Philip, for that message there.
Nice. All right, then I will take these last two messages we have. First one from Coco. This Joey save and subsequent reaction is my favorite of this past season, with the highlight video there, RJ. It was such a good save.
Yep. And my memory of this that moment, if I can just go on to my thing for a second, because that was toward the end of the Winter Classic, and of course it's Joey Daccord just robbing Jack Eichel on that pass across. And at that point, I was getting ready to kind of move everything down into the to go down to the locker room and everything to talk with people post game, but I had gone over into the other press box for a little bit with the other media members, including a lot of the Vegas media, and I was talking with our buddy Ken from Sinbin.Vegas, of course, covering the Vegas Golden Knights. And so we were talking about the game. And I remember when that save happened, he was looking at it like, okay, well, they got to score here. And then Joey makes that save and he's just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Like that was just the moment, like, all right, nothing is going right for us this game. And so it was kind of fun seeing him reacting to the flip side of everything. And just, that was kind of the frustration that Joey caused all game for Vegas.
It was, I mean, just everything went right. Like it's still crazy to think about all this time removed from it, just how right it all went. And that was one of those moments that I think kind of sealed it for everybody, right? Like you were starting to get that idea that everything was going the Kraken's way and they were playing a fantastic game. And then that moment was like, oh, like, no, this is real and it's really going to go. Like the universe is giving us this to be excited about and to reward us and all of that kind of stuff. And that moment, I think, is the moment where you just knew everything was going to be okay that day and everything was going to be great, actually.
Yeah, and that's the difference between good and great. Look, if Jack Eichel scores that goal and Joey doesn't make that save at the end of the game, Kraken win 3-1. And it's a great day for everybody, and we all still have a good time. But it's not the perfect day and the perfect game for Joey Daccord. And I think it was clear, just right. The universe was just letting Seattle and the Kraken have that one.
Yeah. So it was a great moment, Coco. Thanks for that. And then our last moment here from Elizabeth. Hey, one of my very favorite moments of this past season was watching the game with Dylan, Jen, and the ECH crew at Flatstick Pub. It was so fun to meet and connect with the community. After some rough games, watching the young guys, and especially Shane Wright, look so good made me feel hopeful. The whole room exploded in cheers when he scored. incomparable Benny Drawbars showed up to such a fun night. Thanks for making it happen and for making even the ugliest games an opportunity for laughter, community, education, and connection in the post-game live streams. So it was fantastic to meet you there at that game, Elizabeth, and hang out with everybody. Again, I spoke about the whole experience at length earlier, but just having everybody there and being able to do that, and yes, have our own big celebrations around Shane Wright when he scored both of his goals was huge. I know we didn't quite get like the tuna moment that you had at your watch party, but I do know that we were a loud, rowdy bunch when Shane Wright was scoring goals, and we had everybody in Flat Stick looking over and trying to see what was going on, and I think looking with envy at how much fun we were all having there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, heck, I was thinking about it, and especially during post game too, as I had you guys call in and join the post game. I was looking at it with a little bit of envy there myself, especially since I went beforehand to help set things up, and then had to leave right before it all started as people were all coming in. Don't worry, I'm not bitter about it. I'm glad that you had a good time.
Yeah.
But no, it's great that I can't think of a better way to end than by bringing up that watch party again, because I know that was definitely the highlight for you and the highlight for so many people in the community. And I just, knowing that more great moments are coming as we kind of reflect on everything and what this whole season meant. I know it definitely had a different tone, a different vibe than when we did this episode a year ago.
Yeah.
Where, it wasn't the same as last season where you get within a game of the Western Conference Final. But I think everybody was able to find a lot of great moments out of this season and really appreciate the community that makes this all so special. And I think sometimes that it can be good to do that when you don't necessarily have the wins to kind of back things up. Look, you enjoy the good, you enjoy the bad together, but I feel like in a season like this, it just makes you appreciate the community even more.
It really does. And I think that is the theme of, well, like I said, it's already the theme of season 3 for me. I think it very much is after reading this for a lot of people. And, it's special that we get to do all that. And yeah, the season was rough, but it also then meant that the highlights from it kind of meant that much more, because they were, they were these bright spots in an otherwise dark, murky 8 months. Spent a lot of time down there in the deep this past season, so it was good when we had those light moments that obviously impacted people, that they would remember them and want to write about them and share them with everybody all this time after the season has ended. It just goes to show how impactful those moments were for everybody, and that's why I love doing this episode each off season. I want to thank everybody so much for sharing all of your moments with us. Like I said, we've got so many more submissions than we've gotten in years past. I really love that. It goes to speak to how great this community has been and grown as we continue to do this. I look forward to being able to grow it from up there in Seattle with everybody next season. Look forward to being around for Queen Anne Beer Hall moments, RJ. Maybe more podcasts recorded from there, and then obviously being able to hopefully take part in Oktoberfest this year would be a lot of fun. And hopefully Philip Grubauer can come back and be a part of that as well. Yeah, just I don't know if you want to say anything before I kind of sign this off. I know we've gone long again. This has really been the theme of the off season for us, is these long podcasts, but just want to say thanks to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it has, but look, Dylan, this is the episode to go long.
Yes.
I don't care. I mean, this is absolutely the time to do it, and hearing everyone's memories. I could do this for as long as the submissions possibly came in flowing, right? I could do this for a long time, and this, I can't wait till next year, because that was the other theme, I think, of the messages too, was hope. Yeah. The fact that Shane Wright was mentioned so often, the fact that the Dan Bilesma hire was mentioned so often, is I think people are hopeful and they're looking forward to next year. And I cannot wait to see what this episode looks like next year. Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be really, really awesome. Thanks to everybody who made this one awesome. Thanks to Queen Anne Beer Hall for sponsoring the podcast. And we will see you all next time when we kick off our way too early month of August. Really looking forward to that. We'll see y'all there.
Hey everyone, before we go, we just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/Emerald City Hockey, especially our Terror of the Deep patrons.
Thank you so much for making all this possible. We really appreciate your support.